Well, we want to go down to Nick Sorter, who's been in East Palestine, Ohio for a number of days now, one of the first video journalists there on the scene when the major media outlets won't even cover the story. And now it seems like social media is maybe moving the needle in the right direction for people to get answers. Nick has been there for a few days, and he joined us a few days ago. Nick, what has changed in the few days since you've been there talking to the people and seeing maybe the federal response or lack thereof? What have you seen?
So the pressure campaign that we started mounting once I got here on Tuesday has really boosted the hopes and morale of a lot of the residents here. At the time when I had gotten here, no cameras, no media, nothing. There's nobody here. The only journalist here walking around talking to people at the time. And then I started getting a lot of engagement on social media, trying to tell people what was going on the ground. And they got concerned because, what I had seen before this through the media, and kudos to you, you were the first person to pick up on me while I was here. And once I had gotten here, I didn't know what to expect because the media hadn't been covering it for, the 11 days before. They were worried about the balloons or whatever. I got here, and as soon as I got here, I could tell that it was much worse than anything that I had heard. The air quality was terrible. I was choking, my eye watering. And, a lot of people here were experiencing the same things. And they were having issues with, some of them with their lungs. People that have lung problems were having a really tough time with it. Nobody trusted anything the government had told them up until that point. The federal government was like nowhere to be found. But after this pressure campaign, they actually started sending people out here just to, the Biden administration sent out the EPA administrator, and both U.S. senators came yesterday. Why the EPA administrator didn't bother coming out to the worst environmental disaster in recent American history until Twitter blew up and independent journalists started really pushing it is beyond me. And that should tell you a lot about, what the people here are feeling.
What are the people telling you now? We know there was a town hall last night. Are they frustrated? They're being told, sounds like multiple stories, both from the Pete Buttigieg side, from the EPA, from the NTSB, from Norfolk Southern. It seems like they can't get straight answers from anybody.
Right. You're absolutely right. Mike Ryan in particular, his story changes every day, seemingly. The other day, or last week especially, when he had declared that it was safe to come back in to the area here. That's exactly what he told people. So people came in, they came back in. A lot of them didn't want to, they were forced to anyway. And then he comes out, I believe 2 days ago, and says that, oh, well, maybe you should be drinking bottled water, which is totally contradictory from going last week and saying that everything was perfectly safe. Then you come out today and he says, oh, well, everything is perfectly fine. Tests indicate that there's nothing in the water at all. Okay, you got to make up your mind. What are you going off of? How do you keep going back and forth on that? That is what makes people not trust the government here, and that's why they're scared. There are people here that are taking showers with bottled water.
Jeez.
Which is just crazy.
Because
they can't get no straight story.
And I've heard you, in fact, offered the EPA administrator a glass of water, right? You offered him a glass of water because he'd been out kind of walking around all day. And you said, why don't you have some tap water? And what did he say to you?
Yep. He shook his head like this, just sort of like it was definitely a no. So he declined the water. He definitely didn't want to talk to me. We'll say that much.
Unbelievable. Have you noticed a lot of people coming back to their homes, or are they still staying away?
There's the people that can stay away are staying away. I have seen very few children in this town at all.
Wow.
Even at the town hall, you had, 900 people there, and no kids were there. I haven't seen kids in the street playing, not a single time actually.
Wow.
So, and that's disturbing to me. They're doing everything they can to not expose their kids to
Well, I know you've been working so hard there, and I know we've got kind of a choppy signal because you're dealing with Wi-Fi and terrible cell coverage in that area, so I really appreciate it. I wanted to see if it's possible, I know you're right near the creek bed there, if we could just pick up your camera and maybe walk down live here.
Couldn't hear you.
Oh, well, I was just asking you maybe if you could grab your camera here before we go and see if we can just walk down to the creek bed. I know where you're seeing some of the chemicals in the water there. Can you show us what you see? We might lose your signal. We're going to try this live here and see what happens here. If you're just able to walk with your camera and see what we can find in that creek that's down there and see if we can see any trouble spots down there. If you're able to do that.
This is exactly where that video that a lot of people actually about 12.6 million people have seen. So it's right here in this creek, and all I got to do is toss it right in the water. And then you see almost instantly, how, I mean, it oils up. I mean, there's chemicals all over. I mean, you can see the pools of chemicals over here as well. And it might be a little hard to see with the glare, but I'll go over here and it's worse. Wow. I mean, it's there. That was a small rock, and it pulls all of this all these chemicals out of here. You've got these barriers, right, that are supposed to be blocking this stuff out. But they're not effective at all, and they have been trying to cover this up now. They didn't want us to know this. They know this. There's no way they don't know this. All it takes is to toss a small rock in the water, and you discover all of these chemicals in it.
Unbelievable. Well, Nick, thank you so much for your coverage there. Thank you for what you're doing, bringing awareness to this story. Arguably one of the worst disasters in American history. We'll see what the Biden administration does with FEMA, if there's more pressure from Congress on that side. Stay safe there. Thank you so much, and we'll check back with you soon as the story unfolds. Thanks so much, Nick. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Clayton. Appreciate you covering it as well.
Thank you.